This is going to be a much shorter review than the previous ones, mostly because this movie I didn't particularly care for. This is Susan Bier's Bird Box. It's on Netflix right now. Supposedly, it's the most watched in the first week Netflix film ever. So, congratulations, Susanne Bier. That said, what the hell has happened to you as a filmmaker? Oh my god. Even the like disastrous one she did with Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, I liked more. I'm forgetting Serena. At least Serena had an artistic point of view, you know? Like, it was a mess, but it had the bits of Beer that I love. And earlier this year, I saw one of her romantic comedies from a few years ago called Love Is All You Need. Fucking love that one too because she's so good with emotions. Um, and her previous films in her, I think it's is it Danish? Her Scandinavian country she's from. Those films with Madison Michelson, so good. And she used to have this very distinctive way of shooting, of doing close-ups of faces and close-ups of hands and close-ups of movements and things that are completely not in this movie at all. Like if you told me this was Suzanne Bier and I like had watched it not knowing that, I would have been like, "You're shitting me," because it looks nothing like any of her films, and it's a movie that should be as emotionally rich as her previous films. She's such a good emotional filmmaker, and it's none of it's there. It's frustrating. It's a post-apocalyptic film where a woman about to give birth very reluctantly gets caught up in this apocalyptic end of times thing, possibly created by creatures that you kind of see at one point through sketches, that force you to see your worst fears or something and then commit suicide. It's very vague, frustratingly vague. One of those ones where I feel like the original, unless it's different in the book. I haven't read the book, but it feels like one of those things where he's like, I got this great idea and I'm gonna tell you the how, but not the why. I don't give a fuck about hows. I want whys. Why is this happening? And then show me how. Like, otherwise, I feel like you haven't done your work unless it's in the book and it just didn't make it into this movie. I don't know. One. Two, I read in the book the character is supposed to be a college student who had a one night stand who wound up pregnant. And in this, Sandra Bullock's 54. And as much as I love having an older woman in a movie, they never take into account the fact that at least 50, she's having a baby at 50. That's considered a geriatric pregnancy, and there are a lot of complications that come with that. So they don't discuss that. Is she reluctant because she's 50 and having a baby? That's a very different reluctancy than 24 and or 22 and whoops, my whole life's ahead of me and I'm being strapped with a kid. Um, so none of that made any sense. You didn't really get to learn about any of the characters. You didn't care about any of them. The only reason I cared about Sandra Bullock is she's Sandra Bullock, and the only reason I cared about Trevante Rhodes is he's a very empathetic actor, and you can give him anything and you'll empathize with him. He just exudes that emotion. But otherwise, it's just like, what? Why do I care about anything that's happening? You're not telling me like why any of this happened. You're just like, this is happening. Deal with it. And it's, I guess, like life because you never know why anything happens, but life and movies are not the same thing. So I'm just so sick of these end of the world movies that don't present why any of it happens. It's happening. Um, Three, because this is a world where all of these people are committing suicide. It's hard to watch because the violence is self-inflicted and happens really fast. But also there there's one death where the characters grieve properly. And it's not the one where the girl is related to her. It's this person that they shared like one happy moment together, and so then suddenly she's grieving them, and there's just not enough grieving. And I guess maybe because the extent of the death is so much that everyone is in shock and is unable to grieve. I don't really know, but it just felt like it should have been more emotional, and Beer should have been the right director for this. And I don't know if the studio fucked it over or what. I don't know what's happened, but it felt more of a director for hire type film than you would ever expect from a filmmaker of Susan Bier's caliber, and that was frustrating. That said, I'm glad that the numbers are so high and people are watching her film, and perhaps A, she'll get paid more next gig. I hope so. And B, go back and watch her other films because they are so much better. So much better. So this is Bird Box. It's available on Netflix all around the world. Um, it is not a great film, and it's just super disappointing if you've seen any of Beer's other films because she is such a better filmmaker than this movie, and it's just frustrating. So this is Bird Box, and I can't even really recommend it because it's a mess. So watch her other films, and this includes her other English language films. This wasn't even a misstep moving in from one language to another language because Serena's a fucking mess, and it's better than this. And I quite like Things We Lost in the Fire, so that's a good one. So this is a mess of a movie. This is Bird Box.